Last year, Bo Nix wasn't even drafted in most leagues. Sam Darnold left for dead in Superflex formats, and rookie Jaden Daniels' average draft position, or ADP moving forward, was quarterback 12 and 100th overall. But by the end of the season, Daniels slotted in QB 5, Nix finished QB 9 overall, and Darnold ranked QB 11 in points per game. On their own, these may seem like flukes, but every year at least one or two late-round quarterbacks end up having massive years that propel savvy fantasy owners to their league championships. In 2022, Geno Smith's ADP was QB 35. And Justin Fields was QB 17. Smith finished plus 30 at QB 5 and Fields plus 11 at QB 6. In 2023, it was Jordan Love and Baker Mayfield cracking the top 10, and in 2025, the breakout pool is even deeper. So let's break down several QBs who could win you your fantasy season after everyone else forgets to draft them, and why. Now, for our fans who may not be fantasy gurus just yet, let's start with the basics. Year after year, quarterbacks are hands down the league leaders in raw fantasy points, and it's not even close. In 2024, Kyler Murray, Fantasy Pros quarterback 10, averaged a half a point per game less than Derrick Henry and 2 points more than Jamar Chase in standard leagues. Lamar Jackson averaged 9.5 points more than Chase. So why don't quarterbacks go in the first round? Well, the simple answer is that, like the NFL, fantasy football is a team sport that requires balance, not just a single star churning out 25 to 30 points a week. Fantasy football is about positional advantage, and that's where the numbers flip. In standard leagues, you only start one quarterback, so even though quarterbacks dominate the top of the overall leaderboard, the gap between QB4 and QB14 is usually just a few points per week. Now compare that to wide receivers or running backs. The difference between running back 5 and running back 25 isn't 3 points, it's more like 10. And once the bell cow tier for those players dries up, good luck finding another Puka Nacua or Josh Jacobs off waivers in week 2. That's why veteran fantasy players wait on a quarterback, because they know that you can always stream matchups. You can always find someone serviceable week to week, and every year a few late round or undrafted quarterbacks finish in the top 10. Meanwhile, trying to replace an injured wide receiver 1 or a running back 2 who flames out, that's a weekly panic attack. And every quarterback comes with the risk of injury, so spending a ton of draft capital on one early means you could be throwing away your season before it even gets started. To be fair, there is one exception: Josh Allen. He's the only player in the entire NFL at any position to finish top 5 in fantasy points for 5 straight seasons. Not McCaffrey, not Mahomes, not even Derrick Henry. And Allen is almost impossible to knock out of a game unless we just jinxed him. Anyway, if you want to burn a third rounder on a quarterback, Allen's the only sure thing. Anyone else, and you're paying a premium for upside with no guarantee. So unless you're reaching for Josh Allen, the better play is to load up early on running backs and wide receivers and swing late at a quarterback who could level up into a weekly starter. 2025 has a few candidates who could blow the doors off their ADP, trust us. And remember to hit that like and subscribe button after the video. Now, Trevor Lawrence was supposed to be generational, but 4 seasons in, fantasy managers are still asking the same question: when is he going to break out? In 2024, Lawrence finished QB 27, throwing for a dismal 2,045 yards and 11 touchdowns with 7 picks. That's not great, but it's also what could make him a steal this year. In 2025, the Jaguars hit reset again. New head coach Liam Cohen steps in, bringing a fast-tempo, play-action-heavy system with first-year offensive coordinator Grant Udinski calling the plays. The system is inspired by Sean McVay, whom Cohen worked under as the Rams offensive coordinator in 2022, so at the very least, the Jags should be fun to watch. Cohen's scheme is quarterback-centric and functions on layered reads, quick decisions, and a lot of RPO. Trevor Lawrence is excited about the upgrade, calling the new offense a, quote, quarterback-driven system that gives him options he hasn't had in his career to this point. Another plus for Lawrence is that he's finally operating with a talented, clear-cut number 1 wide receiver this year. As a rookie in 2024, Brian Thomas Jr. caught 87 passes for 1,282 yards and 10 touchdowns to finish wide receiver 4 in PPR leagues. He's the real deal. He's big, fast, physical, and not afraid to take a hit. That's the good news. The The downside is there's no more Evan Ingram, he's in Denver now, and after Thomas, this receiving core gets a little shaky fast. Rookie Travis Hunter will be electric, there's no question about that, but he's still raw as a full-time wideout. The Jags plan to use him primarily as a receiver while he learns the defensive playbook, but he'll take enough reps at corner to warrant concerns about his offensive volume. That leaves Travis Etienne, who's yet to find a consistent rhythm as a pass catcher out of the backfield, so yes, there's volatility. This could be another middling quarterback 18 finish, or it could be the post-hype payoff. If Hunter thrives in single coverage, if Etienne gets involved on screens, and if Cohen's system finally gives Lawrence clean windows and tempo control, you're looking at a former number 1 pick with top 10 upside going around quarterback 20. It's not completely safe, but it's the kind of upside swing that wins leagues when it hits. In fantasy football, there's value, and then there's Daniel Jones at quarterback 32. No one's drafting him, but he might just be the cheapest week 1 starter on the board. Let's get this out of the way first. Anthony Richardson re-aggravated his shoulder at the start of OTA, so the team had him sit out the remainder of the sessions as well as the 3-day minicamp. Any further complications could mean he misses all of 2025, but even if he gets healthy by the fall, word is that Daniel Jones is already well ahead in the starting quarterback competition. In all likelihood, DJ will start week 1, and for the first time in his career, he's stepping into an offense that actually gives him a chance. Unlike his Giants days, Jones should finally have time to operate thanks to a Colts O-line that ranked 8th in fewest sacks allowed last season. That's a massive upgrade from the daily jailbreaks he faced while playing for the G-Men for 6 years, not to mention the arsenal of weapons that are currently around him. Tyler Warren, the rookie tight end out of Penn State, is already turning heads at camp. Michael Pittman Jr. and Josh Downs would be wide receiver 1 or wide receiver 2 on most teams, and both have the potential to put up huge games. The fact that Indy has so many weapons is the main reason neither one has broken out yet. Rounding out the pass-catching core is Alec Pierce, and all he did was lead the league in yards per catch in 2024 at 22.3 according to ESPN. The Colts also added Khalil Herbert as a reliable pass-catching option for 2025. That's more talent than Jones ever had in New York. But what really makes him a sleeper is his mobility. In 2022, Daniel Jones ran for over 700 yards and 7 touchdowns, finishing as the QB9 in fantasy. And those weren't designed QB runs. DJ was running for his life in most situations. In 2025, those legs are still going to be there, but the chaos about it is gone. Bottom line is that Daniel Jones is experienced, he's cheap, and he's likely starting every week from the jump. You're not drafting him as a stash, you're drafting him as a plug-and-play starter in a system that saw Joe Flacco put up 1,700 yards and 12 touchdowns in 6 full games of relief of Anthony Richardson last year. And the best part? Jones is going QB 32 at 205 overall in mock drafts this preseason. That means you can load up on every other skill position and possibly even a defense or kicker before anyone else even looks at your QB. Is the idea of drafting Daniel Jones as your starter a little out there? Hell yeah. But we're not counting down a list of sure things here. These are sleepers and late round value picks we're talking about. And this talented, experienced sleeper may well be the steal of the draft in 2025. At the very least, you should draft Daniel Jones as your backup and bye-week quarterback because according to Fantasy Pros, he's still available in round 20 of your 10-team fantasy league. The big question of 2025 is who's going to be this year's Jaden Daniels? The answer is probably no one, considering the level of athleticism the rookie displayed on every down in 2024, but that doesn't mean there isn't a rookie quarterback who could finish top 5 this year. The Tennessee Titans' Cam Ward isn't a dart throw for our list. He's legitimately one of the most prolific passers in college football history, and he's going off the board at QB 27 prices and 156th overall. Draft Ward and you're getting a dual threat quarterback with elite college production in a run-first system backed by a top 5 defense, and he's available in the 14th or 15th round of most drafts. Ward threw 178 total touchdowns across 4 seasons at Washington State and Miami, more than any quarterback in Division I history. And in his final year with the Hurricanes, he racked up 4,313 yards and 39 touchdowns with a 67.2% completion rate, breaking every single season school passing record. That's nearly 700 more yards than Bernie Kosar had in 1994, and an incredible 10 touchdown passes better than the second-place Steve Walsh threw in 1988. Ward isn't a raw talent either. He's not learning to throw on the job. He's coming in as a polished passer with NFL caliber timing, touch, and velocity. And while he's not the next Jaden Daniels in terms of open field explosion, don't underestimate his legs. Ward is a legitimate dual threat. He doesn't run to highlight himself. He runs to extend drives, dodge pressure, and punish man coverage when it breaks down. And that alone makes him fantasy viable in today's NFL. Jaden Daniels was QB3 last season because he ran for 882 yards and added consistency as a passer. Cam Ward won't match those rushing stats, but in terms of pure passing ability, he might already be ahead of where Daniels was entering the league. The thing is, he won't need to be Jaden Daniels because Ward has an arsenal of weapons around him. Tony Pollard and Tajay Spears are arguably the best running back tandem in the league. Chig Okonkwo is a lock for 50 catches at tight end. Xavier Restrepo is looking to make a name for himself in his rookie season. All he did was set the single-season receptions record at Miami last year while catching passes from his buddy Cam Ward. Now, is Cam guaranteed the starting job? Not officially, but here's what we know at this point. Every major depth chart from Fantasy Pros, ESPN, RotoWire, Our Lads has Ward at the top. Will Levis is still there, but after a rocky 2024, Tennessee didn't draft Ward early to watch him hold a clipboard. Tennessee is committed to developing Ward, and they're proving it by giving him the majority of reps in OTAs, where he's taken over the huddle and earned the respect of his teammates. So, barring an injury or a total collapse during preseason, Cam Ward looks to be Tennessee's starter for Week 1. The Titans are building for the future, and Ward fits the new mold. This team wants play action, mobility, and quick reads from under center, and they want efficiency, not the hero ball that Will Levis tried and failed to deliver over the last 2 seasons. Draft him late, pair him with a steady floor option, and when Cam Ward clicks, you'll have stolen a breakout NFL quarterback for free. Caleb Williams didn't have a bad rookie season. He just got buried under the noise. While Jaden Daniels grabbed headlines with a fantasy-dominating debut, Williams quietly put together a respectable campaign in Chicago. Over 3,500 passing yards, 20 touchdowns and just 6 picks, and nearly 500 rushing yards added to the ground. But thanks to one of the league's worst offensive lines and a coaching staff in constant flux, that production barely registered in the fantasy conversation. Now, it's changing. The Bears didn't just clean house, they brought in one of the most respected offensive minds in football. Ben Johnson turned Detroit into a scoring machine over the past 3 years. His Lions offense ranked near the top of the league in nearly every major category, finishing 2024 with 6 games of 40 or more points in the regular season. Detroit also became the first team in NFL history to feature 4 different players with 1,000 scrimmage yards and at least 7 touchdowns each in a single year. Yes, the Lions offense was loaded, but there's no denying that much of Detroit's success was due to the system. Now Johnson takes over in Chicago, and he's not bringing in a quick fix. He's building something around Caleb. The first part of that plan was to fix the offensive line. Chicago added veteran starters in Joe Thuney and Jonah Jackson to stabilize the interior and signed free agent center Drew Dahlman to help clean up protection calls. That alone should make a huge difference since Caleb was sacked 68 times last season. That's 16 more sacks than second-place victim CJ Stroud, and by far the most of any quarterback in the NFL. The net result was that Caleb rarely had time to let plays develop. That's not going to happen again. This year he enters camp as the unquestioned starter in a timing-based ball-out quick system designed to make his life easier. Ben Johnson's offense isn't built around one dominant receiver, it's built around the quarterback making the right read and trusting the system. Williams won't need to play hero ball, he'll just need to execute. Having a big-bodied, sure-handed receiver like DJ Moore who can go up in high-point passes will go a long way in helping Caleb in that department. Yes, DJ's numbers were down last year, but that's to be expected when your quarterback spends more time on his back than he does in the huddle. Rome Odunze showed flashes late last season and should take a noticeable second-year leap in Ben Johnson's offense, and Cole Kmet, who showed flashes in 2022 and 2023, now gets to play the Sam Laporta role in Chicago. He might even be worth a look as a tight end stack with Williams in this offense. Now, is it the deepest offensive group in the league? No, but it's more than enough in Johnson's hands. Caleb Williams is drawing a QB11 ADP in mocks this preseason, so while he may qualify as a late-round steal, he won't be around as long as Daniel Jones, Trevor Lawrence, Sam Darnold, or Cam Ward, and for all the reasons we just listed. Bottom line, Caleb Williams has the ingredients for a significant jump: improved protection, elite coaching, and just enough weaponry to let the system do its job. And if he takes even a modest step forward with cleaner pockets and faster reads, he'll be one of the best fantasy values of the year. And if Ben Johnson's scheme clicks the way it did in Detroit, Williams won't just be a sleeper. He'll be a problem for all the guys in your league who took a pass on him. Now, if you're digging deep for late-round quarterbacks, it's time to take a second look at Drake May. His rookie season didn't set the league on fire, just over 2,200 yards and 12 touchdowns in 13 starts, but the context matters. He was playing behind one of the league's worst offensive lines, throwing to receivers who couldn't separate, and trying to carry a roster in transition. 2024 wasn't about talent, it was about survival. Now, the Patriots are giving him a real shot. The rebuild began at the top with Mike Vrabel, a proven leader who's setting the tone and structure this franchise has lacked since Brady left. Then came the upgrades, where the Patriots completely retooled the offense this offseason. They signed Morgan Moses at tackle and Garrett Bradbury at center to fortify the line with veterans, then used their first-round pick on LSU left tackle Will Campbell, a day-one starter with anchor traits and tenacity in the run game. That alone gives May a cleaner launch pad than anything he had last season. But New England didn't stop in the trenches. In the offseason, they signed free agent Stephon Diggs, a Pro Bowl caliber wideout who immediately becomes May's go-to target. They added depth everywhere, rebuilding the offense not just for the future, but for right now. This Pats offense is no longer a bottom 5 unit. It's a young, ascending roster with a second-year quarterback who knows the speed of the league now and is operating in a system built to give him timing, protection, and real weapons. Drake May now has the runway, and in the right matchup, or after the bye weeks hit, he's the kind of name that could go from forgotten to league-relevant fast. Drafting a quarterback late isn't about punting the position, it's about understanding the fantasy game. Top-tier quarterbacks score the most points, sure, but after the first 5, the gap tightens fast. From QB6 to QB20, weekly finishes can be all over the map or the scoreboard. That volatility is a problem if you pay early, but it's a weapon if you build around it. Instead of paying up for a quarterback in round 3 or 4, you take what the rest of your league gives you: elite wideouts, bell cow backs, or game-breaking tight ends. Then, in the double-digit rounds, you grab a quarterback with upside. Jaden Daniels if he falls. Trevor Lawrence if the matchups line up. Somebody who can flash but with a high floor. After that, you stream. Play the schedule. Find a cheap Week 1 undrafted waiver wire option with a favorable matchup. Bryce Young opens against the Jags, Drake May gets the Raiders D to kick off the season, and one of 5 possible flyers from Cleveland gets the Bengals coming off a historically bad defensive year. The upside is that you're not married to anyone because you didn't pay for anyone. You're buying weeks, not names, and when someone breaks out, you lock it in. Most leagues only start one quarterback, so there are always options at the position. The trick is knowing when to move and when to hold. Because when you build your roster right and treat the quarterback like a rotating slot instead of a fixed position, you end up with a top 10 fantasy quarterback without ever paying for one. So here's the bottom line. You don't need to draft a quarterback early to win your league. You need options, you need matchups, and you need the nerve to wait while everyone else panics. Whether it's Trevor Lawrence in a new system and a soft division, Caleb Williams behind a rebuilt line and one of the smartest coaches in football, Cam Ward quietly taking over in Tennessee, or Daniel Daniel Jones in a Colt offense that finally gives him some breathing room, every one of these guys is going outside the top 20, and any one of them could be a top 10 quarterback by October. This is the year to wait. Stack your skill players early, then take 2 of these quarterbacks, play the matchups, and wait for the breakout. Because when it happens, you won't just be ahead of the waiver wire, you'll be holding the steal that wins your league. Let us know in the comments which late round quarterback are you drafting in 2025, or are you still taking the safe route early? And don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon for more breakdowns every single week. This is Snap Count, where football meets fantasy, one decision at a time.